So Andrew, we're talking today because you just had a really remarkable experience, and I wanted to sit down with you and talk about it. You just spent 10 days in Kabul, Afghanistan, am I right?
Yeah, I did. I went there at the beginning of February.
Yeah, how did you come to do such an extraordinary thing like that?
Well, it was one of these opportunities that came up that I just couldn't say no to. But actually, the answer is that a few years back, I actually did something similar. I taught in Iraq for 5 weeks, and that was through a connection with an international organization. When I played in the New World Symphony, which is this professional training orchestra in Florida, I met some people who ended up becoming part of an international network of teachers. And so when they put out general calls to have horn teachers go to war zones, my hand is always the first raised, and so I did this stint in Iraq, and that sort of cemented my reputation as the war zone horn teacher. And so when Afghanistan came up, they actually called me and said, "Can you come?" And I looked at my schedule and I was like, "I have this chunk of time free off the Florida Orchestra schedule." They're like, "Perfect, get a ticket."
What program were you working with that was bringing teachers over?
Well, the program in Iraq was called American Voices, and that's an international program that does stuff worldwide. But this program in Afghanistan was actually a little different. This is through a different set of teachers, and this is actually specifically an Afghan program. It's called the Afghan National Institute of Music, and it's a 2-year-old music school in Kabul. And its goal is to teach kids from ages 5 through 18, and they graduate not only with a knowledge of music, but also the equivalent of an associate's degree in Afghanistan. So it's a full education program, and they train them both in traditional Afghan instruments and in Western instruments, because the years of warfare, especially under the Taliban, meant that the entire music traditions of Afghanistan suffered a really strong blow, that both even their native music kind of disappeared for a while, and the really accomplished musicians had to leave the country because the Taliban didn't even like to hear native music. So this program is about rebuilding, but it's also just about pure education, and they actually, their students are mainly drawn from the local orphanages, which there are sadly quite a few in Kabul. And also there's a program to get kids off the street. Kabul is filled with street kids who make their money for their families either by begging or by selling junk. And so the school actually pays their families $30 a month to compensate for the lost income, so that the kid can go to school and the family will still have income. So it's a really admirable program to get kids off the street. The music part is wonderful, but the fact that they're getting full education is really important as well. The other thing that the school does as part of its goal is it educates girls as well, and as you probably know, that's an issue in Afghanistan, that women are not getting a full education, and so the school is hoping to help with that problem as well.
How was the school received in the city and in the community? Has it been well received?
It depends. It depends who you talk to. I wish I could say that Kabulis and Afghanis have received the school with open arms, but the fact is it's actually controversial, and some of the more conservative elements are not happy about it. But overall, there's a sense that they're doing a really good thing. Certainly among the foreign workers working in Kabul, they're very excited to have this music school working. And then there is a more liberal element in Kabul, which is glad to see any moves of this sort. But there is also, there's some deep suspicion, partly because there are foreigners employed by the school, and it's seen as an indoctrination kind of process.
Were there other foreign teachers who weren't American?
Yeah, they had teachers. They had teachers from all over the world. Actually, there was Australians there. There was a Mexican woman teaching percussion. There was somebody who was educated in France, but then there are also, and then there, of course, there are native Afghan teachers, Afghanis who might have started learning music in Afghanistan before the wars and then had to leave. So the director of the school is actually lives part-time in Australia, which is where his family is, and but he's an Afghan native, and he's coming back to help run the school and put together his program.
Excellent.
So,